Hello guys, my name is Raul, and in this video I'm going to be going over how to export a skeletal mesh from Modo to Unreal 4. Currently on the screen I have a custom model with a custom rig, with the custom skeleton, all created through Modo. Um, for the beginners out there, I want to break this down very quickly. So I created the mesh and all through Modo. I made the low poly block out. I sculpted some of it in ZBrush. I brought it back and I projected all the high detail then into a mesh, which with polypaint. So that's how I got the textures. And so once I was done, I went through and I created the skeleton rig, which is this guy. And once that was set up, before I did this though, I thought about how what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. I told myself I wanted to have things like a control for the nose to nose is bouncy and maybe a control for the mouth so I can open it. Maybe even a control for the cheek so I could then also control hold on, right there. So I could, make him sad or happy or just things like that. So very very cheap, very quick because it was my first rigging model. I wanted to just figure things out and learn how to do things. So, you know, now to be able to export this stuff out, there's a list of things you need to do just to be able to export them out, and which is why I decided to create a script to help myself, and which is also why I wanted to share it with everybody else, so that even though it's not perfect, people can at least look at it and even use it or expand on it. So that my way is not the right way, but it's one of the ways, and it worked for me, so maybe it will work for you. Um, so on that note, I'm gonna show you what it takes to export this stuff out. So the let me open up one of the animations. Um, Hold on. Okay, so this is not gonna be the greatest animation in the world, but it was just something I made very quickly. The design of the game required me to have a down animation, because it's a mall, so it goes up and down. So as you can see, it's all in motion. You know, it's just very simple and very fast. So now I'm at that point where I want to export this, and the issue now became that the requirements in Real has is that it needs to have the skeletal group, which is this thing here, this guy at the very bottom, which is the main hierarchy, parent of the hierarchy, that needs to be named root. But over here is named root parentheses more rig, and because this is a reference, it's not as simple as deleting this because it won't let me because the reference is not editable. But I can change that. I can go add item reference and edit the overrides. You know, but I mean all that's good. I can do all those things, but I don't. I'm not sure if I want to do that every time I made an animation because, especially because if I'm just making block out animations, doing changing the names of all these joints because there's a lot of joints takes quite a while. Not to mention that you also need to take out the the constraints and you also need to bake the all the keyframes on all the joints. So it is a long process, and that's why I decided to automate it. So the gist of it, though, just to recap, is that I have a root group, the skeletal group, I have a shadow rig, which is what I use to drive the skeletal group. And then finally I have the geometry group. and then that has been deformed by the skeletal group, right? And then in the end, though, what I want to do is I want to export only the root and the geometry into the engine. I don't want to export the rig itself, because that's not going to do any good. It's just going to add more memory to it, So we want to strip it out and delete it, and then just export the raw animations with the skeleton and the geometry. So to do all those things, um, what you need to do first is you need to go ahead and create a T-pose object and import that into Unreal, and then you have to export the animations themselves individually. So let me show you. I'm gonna close this first. So if I go over to, I already have something on the desktop, little test I've done while I was recording this. So Mole Skeletal. So Mole Skeletal was going to be the name of the FBX because my script will rename the FBX the same name as the scene, and it also put it on the same folder where this scene is, right? So what we want to do first is we will probably want to go in and delete the other stuff we don't need, right? Now this is going to be one of those one-time things you need to do per model, and if you open up the Unreal Bake Anim, uh, that's the script that I'm using. At the very, very bottom, there's two lines. There's save scene S and die. And die means it kills everything. No, I'm just kidding. Die means that it will revert everything that we've done. So what you want to do is put the number, this symbol right in front of it, so it comments it out, so it doesn't read it. Because right now, I'm going to show you what it's doing. So, remember I said that we want to nuke this parentheses names. We want to take out the constraints, and we want to bake the animations, right? So by hand that will take a while, but if I just run the script, paste it down here like that, and then hit enter while you have the more rig folder selected, and hit save. Hold on 1 minute. Uh, let me do this again. Okay, so right now what happened was it ran the script, so it took out the parentheses names from the skeletal items. It also ripped off the constraints from the skeletal items. So because it also deleted the main rig group, right? So now this left is raw skeletal with meshes. I mean with animations and the mesh itself. So that's awesome. So because that's what we need. So now I'm gonna do file export. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, let me show you something. So if you go here with the FBX, this is the settings you need. So you probably want to take out save animation only, because if you do that, it's only going to export the animation, not the meshes. So you want to turn on save geometry and save materials, right? And it's up to you if you want to leave this down here. I always leave it on because I just take it out when I import this stuff. This is only uh, for when you're importing the skeletal mesh though. Okay, so down here on back in Unreal, I'm going to do import, skeletal, import. So now it's got all this, fields. Make sure that import skeletal is checked in. Also make sure that search smoothing groups is turned on, and we're going to import. Now, if your model shows up on its back like that, it means that you're not going to be able to use it. No, I'm just kidding. What it means is that Modo is a Y upward, and Unreal is a Z app where you can see that right here, and the axes are right there, and the Modo axes are right here. Points up, Y is up, and then there's a Z is up over here. So a quick, super simple way to fix this is to find transforms, import rotations, let's say 90, and then re-import mesh. That's really all you got to do, right? So now back into Modo. So that's pretty handy now because we have a skeletal mesh ready. So I'm gonna close that. No, I don't want to save anything. And and now we have that skeletal mesh instead of Unreal, right? We can place it in the scene if we want, but we probably don't need to do that now. Now, for the rest of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to also import the animations. But before I do that, I want to quickly just put in a material in this. Cool. So I have that, right? So now to be able to import animations is very similar workflow. So if I go to skeletal, hold on, just let me open one of them right here. So this may not be the greatest animation ever, but it kind of gets the point around. The design of the game needed me to have a animation where the mold just goes down. So it's just that, right? So here, what I need to do is if I go to setup mode, I need to delete, first of all, because we already imported the T-post, now we need to go back to our script and we need to uncomment these lines so the script works like it's supposed to. So now all I gotta do now is I'm gonna delete the extra things I don't need. And then the mold rig is the only thing that's on the scene is also referenced in, right? So with it selected, I do this, and now save that out, and then revert it to script. So what that means is everything shows up, just like we left it. So none of the reference was not edited in any way or anything. And if I undo a few times, it still remembers what my assets that were there were. So it did a bunch of things through my behind the scenes, but I just reverted because of this line, right? So that's pretty handy because then I go back and I leave it exactly the way I found it and the way I like it because otherwise I'll have to import all this stuff at once because I'm always not careful and I just hit save and then I lose all my other assets and that's kind of tedious for me sometimes. So that's just my dumbass workflow. Okay, so now here, if I come back to this folder, say import up, um, I want to see right now it's grayed out because we haven't told it what skeletal to use. So this one is under anims, so it's under the anims folder. So if you click on here, there's going to be several of them because I've been doing different tests. So this mole, if you look at the path, it's game anims, so that's the proper one. So let's say import. Now, the thing you notice too is that this animation also came in on this back. And just the same, you probably have to come in here and just fix it. It used to not be like that. It used to just come in the right orientation. I don't know if I touched something somewhere. Um, so so that's pretty much it. That's a very easy way to import from Modo to Unreal. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it was useful to you. Thank you.